Kia ora whānau, and welcome to another episode of Get a Job and Get Healthy with Costas Enterprises. I am your host, Alex Costas. I am praying that this works. I'm actually doing this through my headphones, so I am currently sitting in the Brisbane airport, just waiting a couple of hours before my flight. And yeah, I thought I'd do a quick podcast, just let you guys know what's been going on with me. I have just spent the last week in Brisbane and Toowoomba celebrating a dear friend of mine and his wedding to his beautiful wife. Gave me a bit of time to do a bit of reflection, gave me a bit of time to do a little bit of thinking about what I want to do with my life and also in my future. So yeah, it's been a really, really wonderful and enlightening experience. I do apologise for any sound that you may be hearing. The music is going pretty loud, unfortunately. And I'm just sitting in the middle of the place. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I thought I'd talk about, just in general, the gratitude that I have. It's been one of those situations where I am really, really grateful for being invited to the wedding, and also just grateful for the people in my life that I have that have supported me. It's been a pretty hard couple of months for me recently. You guys all know the situation with my mum and everything that's going on there with the putting her into care, and that has taken out quite a bit of toll on me. And this is my time to really just relax. I got to see a lot of Australia. I got to drive a lot of between Brisbane and Toowoomba, which was quite surprising. But yeah, I really just genuinely had a really fantastic time, and spent some time with some friends as well, which was good. But also had a bit of time by myself. So I went to the Gold Coast by myself, and even though I was only there 3 days, it was a lovely 3 days. I just took some time to relax. I took some time to think, and yeah, when I talk about gratitude, I'm grateful for not just the people in my life, and not just things like my partner, and the fact that for the most part I'm pretty healthy-ish, and I have been very, very lucky. I'm also grateful for the quiet times, like this whole experience with me and my partner, where she's been away for so long. She's coming back very shortly. Now, that is really great. I love that. I'm really looking forward to that. And it's one of those situations where I just am really happy that I was able to manage. There has been a lot of stress going on there, and that stress has sort of, evolved, and it's made it very hard for me as well. But knowing that, she's coming back has been fantastic. It's one of those sort of situations where she is one of my support network. I do have other people in my support network, and they have been fantastic during this time as well. And if you're listening, you know who you are. I appreciate you. And just knowing that my partner will be coming back is so much amazing. It got me thinking a lot about the future with my partner. Of course, weddings always do that. I really wanted to share the country with her. I really wanted to share the place that we went, and just everything. I've decided that at some point I will come back, and I do want to take her to Gold Coast. I want to take her to Toowoomba. I want to take her to Brisbane. And hopefully, that will happen sooner rather than later. I think our big step at the moment is we are going to try and go back to Vietnam at some point, probably next year. And I think that would be really, really helpful, really, really good. But yeah, so it's been a lot of reflecting recently, a lot of thinking about my future, thinking about what I want to do with my life, how I want to change. And yeah, it's been really, really helpful to sort of internalize that and think about that while I've been doing it. So other than that, there hasn't been much going on in my life. As you know, I suppose I haven't done the usual intro, but if you guys do want to get in touch with me, you can always email me, doncostas@gmail.com. That's DON for Nike, COSTAS @gmail.com. You can also find me costasenterprises.business.blog on my website, or at the Kiwi Don on Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, you will actually see some photos from the wedding. You'll also see some photos from my actual trip as well. And it's been really, really fun, really, really enjoyable. And yeah, I mean, I've felt a lot more relaxed than I thought I was going to. I've been quite lucky in that respect, because usually when I go away, there's a lot of stress that's involved. There's a lot of extra things that I have to worry about, and that sort of hasn't happened this time. Yes, there were some minor stressful things, but it wasn't to the degree where I've usually had, where I've had full on, screaming matches, or full on, that sort of stuff. So that's been really, really helpful, and it definitely helped with the holiday. And that's what it is, yes, it's a celebration of love between the union of my friends, but at the same time, it is also a holiday for me, and it's something that I've needed for a long time. I know I may not go full hardcore go full pelt every day, for example, but definitely I have needed to take this time to rest. It's been really fantastic. Also, of course, we do have the giveaway going as well, so remember to flick me a question. If I get your question, I will read it out. When I get to the 100th episode, I'll read out all the questions. Might get to your question earlier, and you will, of course, be able to win either the $100 from my Redbubble store, or alternatively, you might get a 2-hour coaching session with me, personal coaching session, where I can talk about everything basically that you want to talk about. As I said in my previous podcast, most of my life is an open book for the most part, so you can feel free to ask me some questions, but I will draw the line at other questions. I'll ask you if you want to ask me another question if that is the case. The best way to do that is to flick me an email, doncostas@gmail.com, and that way I can actually I can read them and screen them and all that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, overall, just sitting here, I'll be honest, I really could have done some more stuff today. My flight is not for another 7 hours, so I'm pretty much just sitting here. I'm going to be doing sweet bugger all until about 2 o'clock, when I can go to the actual, through the declaration area. But I'm going to take this time. I'm going to focus on my other little business that I told you guys about, that I'm looking at creating. It's just basically a time for me to start knuckling down and really thinking about what it is that I want to do with the business. How do I want to, sort it out? I won't be doing any recording or anything like that just yet, but I will be doing some things to it, at least writing it out or something like that, and hopefully getting a few ideas and just running through everything. I am lucky that I actually brought my laptop. Now, my laptop is an old clunker of a laptop. It's bloody heavy too. But when I first came over, I thought, I was sort of debating whether or not I brought the laptop or I didn't. I am actually really glad I did, because when I was in the Gold Coast, there was no TV in the room, so I was like, oh my god, what the hell am I going to do for a couple of hours? I did a lot of walking while I was away. I got up to 15 to 16,000 steps, not every day, but at least 2 or 3 days out of the days that I've been going. And otherwise I've been doing sort of close to 10k or 11k. So yeah, it's been pretty good. I will probably do that a bit today. I've got a bit of money that I can, now use on duty free. So usually I try to buy some booze and stuff like that. So I don't know. I might still do that. I do have to be considering of all of my luggage and what I will be carrying and stuff. And I don't really want to carry, massive amounts of bottles and stuff like that. But we'll see. The duty free here is a lot better than it is in New Zealand, obviously, and yeah, it should be quite good. But yeah, I'll probably be having lunch-ish soon, even though there's not much here in this part. There's basically a Red Rooster, a botanist, which is a kid kitchen and bar, and then like a little cafe. So yeah, we'll have a look and we'll try to get something healthy to eat. I haven't exactly been the worst, but I haven't exactly been the best either. I have drunk a lot more water than I thought I was going to while on this trip, because it has been very, very hot. Coming from Wellington, where it's close to sort of like 14 to 15 degrees at the moment. It's very windy. Over here it's been sort of 27, 28 degrees. Surprisingly, I have not yet burnt myself. I get sunburned pretty badly, unfortunately, and surprisingly it's actually been okay. I have been putting a little bit of sunscreen on for the most part. I think yesterday was the only day that I didn't, and I felt a little bit sore at night, but now today I'm fine, so that's quite surprising. But yeah, off home soon, which is going to be really, really interesting, really, really enjoyable. This probably will be quite a short episode. I don't really have too much more to sort of dwell on. Just know that things are happening, things are going, and I do really, really appreciate all of your support, all your love. I see the listeners there. I do apologise for dropping the ball and not contacting you guys, and also putting out more content earlier. That is something that I am looking at doing a bit more. I do have a bit more things that I am trying to do at home, which will be taking up a lot of my time, but when I can put out an episode, I will, which is why I was like, I really wanted to put an episode out this week. I did go on a course recently called the Beyond Diversity course, and if you ever get a chance to do it, it is truly amazing. It talks all about basically white privilege, and also how we can see other races without seeing other races, and for me it was truly eye-opening. I had a little bit of a I'll admit I had a bit of a cry moment. I had a bit of an emotional moment just listening to the stories and stuff. It was a 2-day course. I went through it through my work, and I cannot recommend it enough. It was truly amazing. The 2 presenters were just phenomenal. They came at it from a point of someone speaking on behalf of sort of the Pākehā, or the white side, and then someone speaking on behalf of the Māori side. And honestly, just made me think a lot about what I do and where I am, and without officially saying that I've got white privilege, I do have a bit of white privilege, and I don't want to be that way anymore. I want to be more mindful of other cultures. Like, I'm pretty mindful of other cultures anyway, but I want to be more mindful of cultures, and try to be respectful of the customs and things like that, which I have at times. I'm not perfect. I'm not fantastic, and I'm not saying that I'm racist at all. That's not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to get at is, because of the colour of my skin, I have been afforded a whole lot of luxuries which I took for granted. Did not even think it was something that was there, and it's just really, really sad that this thing is around me, and I see it everywhere now, and that is part of the course that helped me learn that. That's part of the course that helped me realise that it's something that I want to work on personally, and I want to make sure that I am not feeding into that part, be it consciously or subconsciously. It was kind of a life-changing course in a way. Really, really moved me, really made me think. So yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. To the point where I started reading some of the books that they recommended. One of them was White Fragility. When I do my book episode at the end of the year, you will probably hear me talk about that book there. Again, truly amazing. I do apologise for all the noise that is around, because everyone is moving things around and it's really, really loud. So there's a lot of rumbling, there's music, there's everything. But I think it's one of those courses that if you go into it with an open mind and you actually think about it, you can take a lot away. Now, some of the people that were on the course, I would say, probably didn't go in with that mindset, which didn't help. One of the things it did do is, so there was a part of the course where we basically did a test, and it worked out. It's going to sound really stupid, but it's going to be like how white you are, effectively, without saying how white you are, but kind of like, have you been in a position where this happened? Have you been in a position where this happened because of your race, because of this, because of the colour of your skin? And, the top score was 155 and I got 153. But there were a couple of questions in there that made me think. Now, of course, my partner is Vietnamese, and one of the things that made me think was, I'm going to have to, when we have kids, like I do want kids, and, I think she wants kids as well. But when we have kids, like, we're going to have that conversation about race. Like, we're going to have that conversation when the colour of our children's skin is looked at differently, as, and that shook me, that shocked me. And it was at that moment that I was like, oh my God, I've never, ever had to think about that. I've never even had to, and I've seen movies where they've talked about it, I've seen, other TV shows where they've sort of touched on it, and it wasn't until it hit me that, oh wow, my partner's Vietnamese, and we're probably going to have beautiful half Asian, half European babies. Like, oh my God, they're going to have to go through what so many other families do and stuff. And it wasn't that I wasn't prepared for it, but it's just like, it was like an awakening. I was like, oh my God, like, this is the sort of thing that, I never thought about. I never even considered. Because, I grew up white and white and white. It's like, yeah, it was very eye-opening. And I just want to make sure that when we do eventually have kids, that I can be there for them, and I can actually give them the love and the respect that they need and deserve, and not shelter them from that world, because unfortunately there's, you can't shelter your kids from that sort of world. But if I can get them informed, if I can, help them realise that they are just amazing as they are, and that message sort of pushes through without, hopefully in a world where that sort of thing starts to disappear. But let's be real, that's the kind of little world we live in, where that's, for a long time, that's not going to disappear. There's always going to be that stigma, there's always going to be that sort of, that white fragility will live around. And I know this podcast took a bit of a different turn. I definitely wasn't expected to go on to this. I was going to do a whole episode about it earlier on, but I just didn't have the time, and then went away, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's like I just didn't get a chance to. But I just want to say that if you do get a chance, have an open mind. go on the course. Or do the reading. Read the books. White fragility it's powerful, man. It's powerful. And it's written from the perspective of a white person. And we're not talking about woke, like you're not being woke, you're being a human, you're being a good person at the end of the day. Like, one of the things the book sort of talks about is how, a lot of white people say, well, I've got black friends, I've got, I'm half myself, like, I don't see race, I don't see colour, or I've got, all these sorts of things. And it's like, well, no, you have to see colour, you have to see race. And that was one of the things that the course was really, really hammering down. Was one of the biggest things was, actually calling white out for white. Like, we are white. And yes, of course, we are Pākehā and all that sort of thing, but it was just, we always talk about, like, African American, we talk about black, we talk about, Asian, but we don't actually say white people. And like, the whole second day was just focusing on that. Like, what does that actually mean? What does that afford you? What does that, and it just really, really powerful stuff. And it got me thinking a lot. And yeah, I mean, I'm one of the things that I definitely took away was there was an intro that we basically did, where you basically, every time you met someone in the room, you would say your name, but you would talk about what your name meant, where your name was from. You're talking about the place, so where you grew up, what you were, where do you come from, and you would talk about what you identify as. Now, when we say identify, we mean, we're not talking the sexual identification. Like, for example, if you are binary, non-binary, not that so much. We're talking more about, like, are you New Zealand European? Are you Māori? Are you American? Are you African American? Are you Australian? All those sorts of things. And rather than going what you were born as, like, what do you actually identify as? And so for me, I was, I'm a, French Australian on my mother's side and Greek Romanian on my dad's side, but I was a firstborn Kiwi. And I said, look, I identify as a Kiwi with, European tendencies. And they're like, oh, you identify as a Kiwi? What's a Kiwi? I was like, well, I like to think of the Kiwi, we're a multicultural sort of race for the most part. We should be. We're all a bunch of immigrants, regardless. Like, yes, the Māori have been there a lot longer, but they did also come over as well. And I said, if we are all immigrants, why can't we all just get along? And so when I was saying that stuff, I didn't realise that at the time, like, according to the white fragility, that's me also doing a little bit of the white privilege, going kind of like the I don't see race, but I do see race. It was a very awakening moment for me. But at the same time, I still do feel that there should be a case where, we are all in this together. Like, we are all, if you're a Kiwi, if you're a New Zealander, be it of Māori descent, of European descent, of Asian descent, of Indian descent, doesn't matter. Like, you're a Kiwi, you're a New Zealander, and you should be respectful to all people, no matter where they are. It was just a very sort of very awakening experience. And so I highly recommend everyone to try and get into this Beyond Diversity course if you can. I know it probably costs. If something like that is offered by your organisation, go. If you can't do that, pick up some of the books, like the White Fragility book. I'll probably do a proper episode on this when I get back to New Zealand, because I've got all the stuff there of the kind of books that we can get into. But truly powerful, amazing, and eye-opening is the only thing I can sort of say from that. But all right, I will. That's probably enough of me shouting over the loudspeakers and music. As always, I love you guys. I really do. You guys are my support network. You guys are part of the reason why I do this is I can talk to you. I can let you know what's going on in my life, and hopefully you find it interesting. Feel free to hit me up. As I've said, flick me an email, doncostas@gmail.com. Ask me any questions. Those questions will be entered into the competition, which I think we've got, after this episode, maybe 3 more episodes left for you to enter, and then winner will be announced once we've done it. But until next time, I love you guys, and as always, good luck.